Good morning, everyone. This is State Senator Kathy Breen, and we are about to begin public hearing on the governor's proposed biennial budget. And we will be talking primarily today about education institutions and policies and the budget, I should say. And we're joined by our colleagues in the Education Committee. So I would like to ask Senator Daughtry to lead the introductions of the Education Committee, please.
Good morning, and thank you, Senator Breen. I am Senator Maddie Daughtry. I represent Senate District 24, which are the communities of Brunswick, Harpswell, Freeport, North Yarmouth, and Pownell, and I am the Senate Chair of Education. I'd like to introduce my House Chair, Representative Brennan.
Good morning, and good morning to the committee, both committees. I'm Michael Brennan. I represent District 36, which is part of Portland.
And Senator Woodson. Do we have Senator Woodson with us? Okay, not seeing Senator Woodson. Representative Crockett.
Good morning, everyone. Representative Ed Crockett, District 43, which is part of Portland and part of Falmouth.
Representative Dodge.
Good morning, everyone. Jan Dodge, House District 97, Belfast, Northport, and Waldo.
And do we have Representative Lyman with us yet? Not seeing her. And Representative McCrae.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I'm Representative Dave McCrae from District 148 up in the county. It's a nice balmy morning up here, comparatively speaking. So welcome.
And then Representative Millette.
Good morning, I'm Rebecca Millette. I represent House District 30, which is part of Cape Elizabeth.
Representative Roach.
Good morning. Despite my name on my Zoom, I am Senator Tim, not Senator, Representative Tim Roach, District 7 Wells.
Representative Salisbury.
Good morning. I'm Sue Salisbury, and I represent House District 35, which is part of Westbrook.
Representative Sampson, who appears to also be labeled as Representative Stearns.
Yes, my name is Paul Stearns, and I am live in Augusta. Yes, Heidi Sampson, representing the good people of House District 21, Alfred, Limerick, Shapley, Newfield, and Parsons Field.
And if the real Representative Stearns would now introduce himself, please.
Good morning. It's interesting to be on so early in the morning. My name is Paul Stearns. I represent House District 119, which consists of 12 towns and the unorganized territories of Piscataquis County.
And that's all of us. Thank you, chairs.
Thank you so much, Senator Daughtry. And I took the liberty of changing names of the people pretending to be Representative Paul Stearns. I'm not sure if I spelled Representative Roach's name correctly, but you could change it yourself by hovering over your box and hitting those 3 dots at the top. And if there's a drop-down menu there, you'll see rename. Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, education folks, for introducing yourselves. And now we will introduce members of the Appropriations Committee. So Representative Cardone.
Hello, I'm Barbara Cardone. I represent House District 127, which is part of Bangor.
Representative Arata.
Good morning. My name is Amy Arata, and I represent District 65, which includes New Gloucester and part of Poland.
Thank you. Representative Cloutier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. I am Kristen Cloutier. I represent House District 60, which is part of Lewiston.
Representative Millett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm Someone Millett. Represent House District 71, towns of Norway, Sweden, Waterford, and West Paris.
Representative Fay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jessica Fay. I represent House District 66, parts of the towns of Raymond, Poland, and Casca, where we had a very successful Sebago Lake Rotary Fishing Derby this weekend.
Congratulations. I don't see Representative Corey or Representative Fecto, but when they arrive, we will introduce them. And I could be wrong, so I'll count on Representative Peirce to correct me. So that said, let's go to Representative Hymanson.
Good morning. I'm Patty Hymanson. I represent House District 4, which is parts of York, Wells, Sanford, and Olive Ogunquit.
Great. Senator Bailey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Donna Bailey. I represent Senate District 31, serving the residents of Saco, Old Orchard Beach, Hollis, Leamington, and part of Buxton.
Senator Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. My name is Paul Davis. I represent Senate District 4, all of Piscataquis County, and parts of Somerset and Penobscot.
And my House co-chair, Representative Peirce.
Good morning. I'm Teresa Peirce. I'm the House Chair of AFA. I represent District 44, which is the majority of Falmouth. And I don't see our other members here yet, including Representative Martin, but I'm sure they'll come when they're available.
Okay. And I am State Senator Kathy Breen. I represent 6.5 communities in Cumberland County, and I serve as Senate Chair of Appropriations. I see another person who's pretending to be Paul Stearns. So I wonder if that person could introduce herself, maybe an education member. I think you're on mute.
Representative
Yeah.
Lyman, yeah.
Hi, good morning. It's Representative Sheila Lyman. I've been here since 9:30, but I don't know what's going on with the thing. So I now have Paul's name.
We're glad to have you. And one of us will change your name momentarily.
Thank you.
Sure thing. So again, we are here to take testimony from the bill sponsor, the administration, and the State Board of Ed will be joining us. And we will, because of Zoom, there's some advantages and disadvantages. One of the disadvantages is that when people sign up to testify, it's not clear to us on what part of the budget they want to testify. So what we have been doing is sort of ticking through all the different sections, and the folks who are going to testify are patient, they're waiting, and we wait until the end of the testimony on all the different sections for the morning before we take the public testimony. So it's a little inconvenient, and we are very grateful for the public's patience with this. So let me open my agenda to make sure that I introduce the right person. Hold on one moment, please. Just making sure I have the right agenda up. Okay, so first on our agenda is the Charter School Commission. Then we have the State Board of Education, and then we have the Department of Education and many different parts of the department underneath that. That will be the bulk of what we do this morning. So my first question is there anybody here from the Charter Commission to present testimony?
Yes, I am. Nikki Farnham, the chair of the Charter Commission, is here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chair Farnham. I appreciate you coming and flagging yourself. The floor is yours.
Thank you and good morning. Senator Breen and Daughtry, Representatives Peirce and Brennan, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs and Education and Cultural Affairs. My name is Nikki Farnham, and I am the chair of the Maine Charter School Commission. And as you know, I'm here today to present testimony for the Commission's biennial budget request. The Commission was established in Public Law 2011, Chapter 414, and is comprised of 7 volunteer members that support the work of authorizing and monitoring the state's public charter schools. Of those 7 members, 3 serve concurrently on the Charter School Commission and on the State Board of Education. The other 4 members are appointed by the governor. The Maine Charter School Commission authorizes and monitors the 10 public charter schools across the state. In doing so, the commission seeks to increase student achievement by supporting high-performing schools, by promoting innovative educational opportunities and diverse public school settings, by creating new professional opportunities for educators, and by using novel approaches for community engagement in the design, execution, and delivery of education to the state's children. By law, the Charter School Commission may charge up to 3% of the annual per pupil allocations received by each public charter school that it authorizes. Currently, the commission receives 2.25%, which covers the cost of the oversight. The revenue projections for the biennium budget are based on the 2.25%. The baseline budget for the commission can be found on page A91 in the recommended general fund biennial budget document, Part A. The other special revenue funds request is $694,809 in each year of the biennium. There are no new initiatives for the commission. This concludes my testimony for the Maine Public Charter School Commission.
Thank you very much, Chair Farnham. Are there, well, we're actually going to move on. Will you be able to stay with us, or should we take questions for you now? Were you planning to stay?
I can stay, sure.
Well, you know what, it's so quick. Why don't we just take, sorry, why don't we just take, if there are any questions for the Charter Commission on this testimony from members of Appropriations or Education? Why don't we do that now? And if you go down to the bottom of your screen, you can hit the raise hand function, and that will alert me and my co-chair to your question. I see Senator Woodson.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
I have not received any information on this charter school budget, either through email or through the regular U.S. mail. I guess that's a question for the committee.
Well, it's in the budget document. There's no new initiative, so there's not a lot of verbiage about it. Looks like Representative Peirce has something to say.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure we received your testimony as of this morning. Has that been emailed to us, Chair Farnham?
Should have been last week, yes.
Last week. Okay, I'll look back through my documents and make sure I find that. Thank you.
So Senator Woodson, we'll make sure that you get that testimony as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
It looks like Representative Millette has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not a question, just to make sure that folks in the Education Committee know that we did receive an email from our analyst Hillary Risler with documents regarding the budgets that we will be hearing today.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, Chair Farnham, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
Next, we will be hearing from the gentleman who is the chair of the State Board of Education. Mr. Hess, welcome.
Thank you very much, Senator Breen and Senator Daughtry, Representatives Peirce and Brennan, honorable members of the Joint Standing Committees on Appropriations and Financial Affairs and Education and Cultural Affairs. My name is Wilson G. Hess. I'm chair of the State Board of Education. And I'm here today to present testimony on LD 221 regarding the biennial budget for the State Board of Education. The State Board of Education is authorized to act in an advisory capacity to the Commissioner of Education in matters concerning state laws related to education. In addition, the board has delegated specific powers to make recommendations to the legislature for the efficient conduct of the public schools, to approve the formation of school administrative districts, to approve, to grant permission for administrative units to enter into agreements for cooperative education purposes, to act upon articles of agreement for the creation of an interstate school district, to develop and adopt a plan for the establishment of career and technical education centers, to approve standards for school construction, to approve school construction projects for state aid, which total approximately $175 million annually. To work as a partner with the Department of Education regarding the essential programs and services school finance process, to obtain information regarding applications for granting degrees, to accredit programs at institutions of higher education and that train educators, to set standards for educator certification, authorization, and approval, to approve applications for out-of-state institutions who wish to offer degree granting programs in Maine, to review the applications for initial degree granting and make recommendations to the legislature, to participate in the State Authorization Reciprocity Agreement, known as SARA, through the New England Board of Higher Education, to serve as the state agency for administering federal Carl Perkins funds, currently totaling about $7.04 million annually, and to review student transfers requested by a parent or superintendent dissatisfied with the decision of the Commissioner of Education. The State Board of Education also appoints 3 of its members to the Maine State Charter School Commission, as Director Fireman indicated, and the board monitors the work of the commission and reviews its annual monitoring reports of authorized charter schools. The baseline budget may be found on page A-183 in the budget document. The general fund request is $162,006 in FY22 and $162,681 in FY23. The board has no budget initiatives. This concludes my testimony on behalf of the State Board of Education, and I'll be happy to either answer questions now or stay around as you wish, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hess. Any questions from any members on the committee for Mr. Hess regarding State Board of Education? Not seeing any. So if anything comes up, our analysts will reach out to you. But in the meantime, thank you so much for coming.
Ma'am.
Next, we have testimony from the Department of Education. Welcome, Commissioner Macon. And just to remind folks, we do have this testimony in our inboxes. So if you'd like to follow along with the testimony, you're welcome to do that. You can follow along in your budget book. You can follow along on the calendar of what's on today's agenda, whatever makes sense to you. Commissioner Macon, welcome again, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Senators Breen and Daughtry, Representatives Pierce and Brennan, and members of the Joint Standing Committees on Education, on Appropriations and Financial Affairs, and Education and Cultural Affairs. My name is Pender Macon, and I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Education. I'm here today to present testimony for those departmental items in the biennial budget bill. As Governor Mills said, at a time when Maine people are hurting, when small businesses are struggling to keep their doors open, when the ranks of the unemployed have swelled, and when we are fighting a deadly virus all around us, we are proposing balanced budgets as required by the Constitution that continue efficiencies, good fiscal management, and curtailments to cover projected revenue shortfalls for all 3 fiscal years. They focus on combating the COVID-19 pandemic by continuing to rebuild the state's public health infrastructure and protecting essential health care, education, and life-saving services. They did not change Maine tax rates, and they maintained the Budget Stabilization Fund. With a future made unpredictable due to the ongoing pandemic, these budgets make good on the promise of government, which is to protect and support the well-being of our people and institutions. The Department of Education is charged with ensuring the effective coordination of our public education system, interpretation and implementation of the laws that govern its operation, the provision of necessary resources, information, and technical support to schools and districts across the state, and the interrelation of our public education system with Maine's other social, economic, and cultural programs and departments. Our budget consists mostly of pass-through funds, as our department receives and manages and disseminates state and federal funding to the local schools. The initiatives in this budget can be categorized into 4 groups. One group includes initiatives with a general fund impact that nets to 0. These initiatives consist of housekeeping items due to reorganization within the department, and they're self-funded. The general fund headcount in this group of initiative nets to an increase of 2 due to 1 position elimination and the continuation of 3 positions that were established by financial order during our strategic reorganization process. Another group of initiatives includes those related to personal services that do have a fiscal impact. The general fund total amount for these initiatives is $77,210 in fiscal year 22 and $177,137 in fiscal year 23, with an increase of 3 positions that were established by financial order. A third group of initiatives represents reductions in the general fund to help offset other initiatives. These initiatives total to $165,639 in savings in each year of the biennium. The last group of initiatives includes only 3 general fund initiatives, and they represent the overall general fund budget request. They are for the teacher retirement costs in the amount of $15,324,489 in fiscal year 22 and $20,677,486 in fiscal year 23. Also, the retired teachers group life insurance with a savings of $8,383 in 22 and an appropriation of $125,431 in fiscal year 23. And finally, general purpose aid for local schools in the amount of $22,500,000 in each year of the biennium. Appendix A, that's included with my testimony, reflects all of the initiatives in the budget in summary, and these are color-coded by group for clarity, and the final totals of those. You see blue, I hope you see yellow, blue, green, and white, and those will tell you which groups of initiatives those are with. At the very bottom of, if you have that, happen to have that open, you can see where they're summarized and totaled. Some initiatives in this budget will impact more than one program. For example, a transfer of one staff member to a different team or office within the Department of Education is reflected both as a reduction in one program and as an increase in another. For this reason, initiatives related to the same purpose will sometimes appear across several areas of my testimony. The explanation for these initiatives will be repeated for each program, and the repeated explanations will be underlined to identify that they were described earlier. I will now provide an overview of the budget by program describing the initiatives associated with each. Part A, Adult Education. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A150. The Adult Education Program provides administrative and technical support and assistance for adult education programs statewide, including adult and community education, adult basic education, adult high school diploma equivalency testing programs, family literacy, job skills training, and college transition programs. This program includes both the general fund and the Federal Expenditures Fund. It has 3 initiatives that may also be found on page A150. The first initiative provides an appropriation of $20,000 in each year of the biennium to cover increased costs for administering the high school equivalency tests known as HiSET. Pre-COVID-19, individuals could take a computer-based or a paper-based test at adult education sites. Because of COVID-19, the adult education team started a new program called HiSET at Home. This allows testers to take their test at home with a remote proctor. HiSET at Home costs an additional $17.50 per test for remote proctoring. This initiative covers the increased cost for HiSET at Home, $17,000, plus the estimated growth of 5% or $3,000 in the program. The second initiative transfers $29,000 from school finance and operations to adult education. This funding is for the adult education management system that was developed for reporting. This initiative puts the funding in the appropriate program. It may also be found on A179, which transfers the funding from school finance and operations, resulting in a net effect of 0. The third initiative de-appropriates $7,000 in each year of the biennium for travel, office supplies, and general operations in order to fund new budget initiatives as a result of a shift in departmental priorities. Alternative Breakfast Delivery Service Program. The Alternative Breakfast Delivery Program, also referred to as Breakfast After the Bell, is managed by Child Nutrition. The purpose of this program is to provide funding for schools to start up or expand an alternative breakfast delivery method. This program has no baseline budget or initiatives. The department received a one-time appropriation of $500,000 in Public Law 2019, Chapter 480 in fiscal year 1920. Unspent funds carry over to the next fiscal year. The amount carried from last year is $454,156. Of that amount, $11,244 has been spent to date. The Charter School Program. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A151. The Federal Expenditures Fund request is $500 for each year of the biennium. The base allocation was established if federal funds are received to fund a charter school program that would primarily make subgrants to charter schools per federal regulations. To date, no federal funds have been received. There are no new initiatives for this program. Child Development Services. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A152. The Child Development Services, or CDS system, is an intermediate educational unit that provides both early intervention for birth through 2 years and a free appropriate public education for ages 3 through 5 years under the supervision of Maine Department of Education. CDS ensures the provision of special education services and the implementation of federal and state regulations statewide through a network of 9 regional sites and a central office. It is our intent to transition CDS services for the children ages 3 to 5 into the auspices of local public school systems over time, as this would improve services and continuity for the children and families served by the program. The program includes both the general fund and the Federal Expenditures Fund. It has 2 initiatives, and they may be found on page A152. The first initiative transfers an office associate 2 position from CDS to the Special Services team at DOE in order to align the positions with the appropriate program. This position provides administrative support to the finance team within the Office of Special Services. This initiative may also be found on page A181, which reflects the transfer to Special Services, resulting in a net effect of 0. The second initiative eliminates a vacant Public Services Coordinator 2 position and transfers the General Fund Personal Services savings to all other. The position changes from a state position to a CDS position. This initiative may also be found on page A181, which explains the Federal Expenditures Fund cost of the position. The commission to end student hunger. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A153. The Commission to End Student Hunger is charged with the implementation of the 5-year plan to end student hunger as developed by the Task Force to End Student Hunger in Maine pursuant to Resolve 2013, Chapter 107. The department participates as a member. The other special revenue fund request is $500 for each year of the biennium. This base allocation was established if funds were received for this purpose. No revenue has been received to date. There are no new initiatives for this program. The Community Schools Program. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A153. The Community Schools Program was established as a pilot program beginning in the 2016-17 school year. Community schools provide services to students, families, and community members that promote student success while addressing the needs of the whole student, according to the United States Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Travel at this time remains a risk. There are no new initiatives in this program. The Federal Expenditure Fund request is $500 for each year of the biennium. This base allocation was established if federal funds were received for this purpose. No revenue has been received to date. Criminal History Record Check Fund. The baseline budget for this other special revenue fund is a program may be found on page A154. The Criminal History Record Check Fund is a non-lapsing fund within the Department of Education. This account receives transfers from the Department of Public Safety to fund a portion of the position within the department that issues certificates upon completion of criminal history record checks of educational personnel applicants. There are no new initiatives for this program. The Digital Literacy Fund. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A154. The Digital Literacy Fund, other special revenue funds, is used to provide technical assistance to SAUs to support the use of digital curricula, including digital textbooks and open educational resources. It also provides an online clearinghouse for digital curricula to aid SAUs with the selection and vetting of digital learning materials. There are no new initiatives for this program. Education in the Unorganized Territory. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A155. The purpose of the Education in the Unorganized Territory, or EUT program, is to provide educational programming and related support services to school-aged children whose parents reside in an unorganized territory of our state. The program must meet the general standards for elementary and secondary schooling and special education established for organized municipal units. Funding is provided to educate 795 students residing in unorganized territories, including 95 students in 3 EUT schools. The department operates these 3 schools and tuitions 700 students to 77 different SAUs and regional schools. The funds expended from the general fund budget for EUT educational services are replaced each fiscal year by local tax revenues raised in the unorganized territories through the Municipal Cost Component Act. These local tax funds are dedicated revenues which reimburse the general fund for EUT and other state and county services provided to residents of the unorganized territories. This program includes the general fund, federal fund expenditures, and other special revenue funds. There are no new initiatives for this program. Facilities, Safety, and Transportation. The baseline budget for this program is on page A156. The Office of Facilities, Safety, and Transportation provides planning, leadership, technical assistance, and financial support necessary to maintain and strengthen the state's pre-K through 12 public education infrastructure. Programs include major capital school construction, school revolving renovation fund, leased space, federal facilities inventory, school bus purchase, transportation operations, and transportation safety and training. This program is funded with other special revenue funds, which are derived from the Maine Municipal Bond Bank. It has one initiative that may also be found on page A156. This initiative transfers allocation to the Maine School Safety Center from Facilities Safety and Transportation Program. A new program has been created for the Maine School Safety Center, resulting in the need for the transfer of this allocation. Fund for a Healthy Maine, FHM, school breakfast program. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A157. Pursuant to Title 20A, Section 6602, a public school shall provide breakfast at no cost to all students who are eligible for free and reduced priced meals. The state shall provide funding equal to the difference between federal reimbursement for a free breakfast and the federal reimbursement for a reduced price breakfast for each eligible student. There are no new initiatives for this program. Fund for the efficient delivery of educational services. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A157. The fund for the efficient delivery of education services was established to provide competitive grants to SAUs to fund the cost of changes leading to significant and sustainable savings in cost of delivering educational services and improved student achievement. Other special revenue funds request is $500 for each year of the biennium. This was the base allocation when the program was established, and there are no new initiatives for this program. General purpose aid for local schools, the GPA. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A158. GPA forms the core of state funding for Maine's public schools. The school finance and operation team distributes these funds and provides technical assistance regarding that distribution to Maine's 266 SAUs. Local SAUs use GPA funds with local tax revenues to provide pre-K through 12th grade education programs so that each student has the opportunity to achieve Maine's learning results. This program includes the general fund and other special revenue funds, which are derived from revenue received from the Oxford Casino. It has 5 initiatives that may be found on pages A158 and A159. The first initiative continues an Education Specialist 3 and a Public Service Manager 3 that were established by financial order. The Education Specialist 3 serves as a project manager for Maine Learning Through Technology initiative. It oversees and manages the resources and related logistics of the program, which includes contract and grant administration, inventory of equipment and software, and network resource management for Maine's participating schools. The Public Service Manager 3 serves as the Director of Innovative Teaching and Learning through Technology, providing leadership within the Office of Innovation and oversight of Learning Through Technology program. The cost of these programs will be funded with existing Learning Through Technology, all other funds within the GPA account. The second initiative continues the Management Analyst 2 that was established by financial order. This position was originally established as a Public Service Coordinator 1. The position was reclassified to a Management Analyst 2 to better serve the needs of the Office of School Finance and Operations. This position is responsible for the office webpage, managing communication efforts related to training opportunities for financial reporting and compliance for schools, and producing videos and infographics to disseminate to Maine school district staff and the legislature and the general public. The cost of the position will be funded through the existing all other budget for the data management team within the GPA account. The third initiative reduces allocation due to lower estimated revenues from the Oxford Casino as per the December 2020 Revenue Forecasting Committee revenue projections. Prior to the pandemic, the FY21 budgeted revenue for casino was $21,508,243. The current revenue projection for FY22 is now $12,427,201 in FY22, sorry, and $20,370,559 for fiscal year 23. The fourth initiative provides an appropriation of $22,500,000 in each year of the biennium. This funding keeps the state share percentage of the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten through grade 12 at 51.83. The fifth initiative transfers a management analyst 2 and an office specialist 1 from learning through technology to GPA to reflect the positions in the appropriate program. The initiative may also be found on page A169, which transfers the position from learning through technology for a net effect of 0. Higher education and educator support services. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A160. The program is central to the certification of teachers, education specialists, building administrators, and other education personnel, provides assistance to the districts in performance evaluation and professional growth processes, administers and supports educator recruitment, excellence, and leadership development initiatives, provides oversight and assessment of the main post-secondary institutions offering educator preparation programs, licensing proprietary post-secondary schools, manages the state authority reciprocity agreements, supports public and private post-secondary institutions of Maine, and administers degree granting authority to out-of-state post-secondary institutions. This program includes a general fund and federal expenditures fund. It has 3 initiatives that may also be found on page A160. The first initiative transfers an education specialist 3 from learning systems to the HEESS in order to reflect the position in the appropriate program. This position supports the certification team within HEESS. This initiative may also be found on page A165, where it transfers the position from learning systems, resulting in a net effect of 0. The second initiative reduces allocation of $5,480,535 in each year of the biennium. This allocation is no longer needed as the teacher incentive fund grant has ended. A third initiative deappropriates $14,263 in each year of the biennium for travel, office supplies, and general operations in order to fund new budget initiatives as a result of a shift in departmental priorities. Next, we have the leadership team. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A162. The leadership team exists within the Commissioner's office. The leadership team provides Maine schools with the dynamic and collaborative support needed to ensure quality pre-K through adult learning in the state. It provides administrative and policymaking services which support the operation of the Department of Education in areas of statewide educational planning and innovation. Administrative Procedures Act and Freedom of Access Act compliance, state and federal legislative activity, agency budgeting and finance, strategic planning, communications, advocacy and outreach, and personnel. Each of the activities has broad responsibilities for supporting the work of Maine's pre-K through adult programming for education, elevating all other organizational units within the department, and representing and evolving the department within these areas of responsibility to best serve Maine schools. This program includes the general fund and other special revenue funds, which are derived mostly from the department's cost allocation plan. It has 3 initiatives that may also be found on page A162. The first initiative transfers 2 regional education representatives from the learning systems to leadership to reflect the positions in the appropriate program. These positions work in the Office of Innovation, which is part of the Commissioner's office. This initiative may also be found on page A164, which transfers the positions from learning systems, resulting in a net effect of 0. The second initiative provides an appropriation of $11,226 in FY22 and $11,222 in FY23 for the proposed reorganizations of a Public Service Manager 3 to a Chief of Operations and a Public Service Executive 2 to a Chief Innovation Officer in order to provide consistency within appointed positions. The department has 5 appointed positions, but only 3 of them are major policy influencing positions in Title V. This initiative puts all the appointed positions in Title V. The third initiative de-appropriates $15,000 in each year of the biennium for travel, office supplies, and general operations expenditures in order to fund new budget initiatives as a result of a shift in departmental priorities. The Learning Systems Team, otherwise known as the Office of Learning Systems or OLS. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A164. The program provides technical assistance and comprehensive support to superintendents, administrators, teachers, and other education staff in coordinating local and regional efforts to accomplish the following: implement the main learning results and the main early learning and development standards, identify and broker professional development and learning opportunities aligned to the needs of educators and main school systems, work with regional groups and organizations to establish or enhance partnerships or collaborations within a variety of agencies, educational institutions, organizations, and partners, and provide expertise in curriculum and content areas, instructional practice and strategies, assessment systems, and other special areas of expertise statewide. And the implementation of ESEA, which is the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, which includes Titles 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the Carl D. Perkins Funds. This program includes a general fund and federal expenditures fund, and it has 16 initiatives that may be found on pages A164 through A167. The first initiative transfers 2 regional educational representatives from learning systems to the leadership team to reflect the positions in the appropriate program. These positions work in the Office of Innovation, which is part of the Commissioner's Office. The initiative may also be found on page A162, which transfers the positions to the leadership team, resulting in the net effect of 0. The second initiative provides an allocation of $169,122 of federal grant funds in each year of the biennium for the 21st Century Community Learning Centers Program grant in order to align the allocation with the estimated revenue. The objective of this grant is to create community learning centers that provide academic enrichment opportunities for children, particularly for those who attend high poverty and low performing schools. A third initiative provides an allocation of $547 in FY22 and $504,604 of federal grant funds in FY23 for the Student Support and Academic Enrichment Grant in order to align expenditures with the estimated revenue. The objective of this grant is to improve students' academic achievement by increasing the capacity of local education agencies to provide students with access to a well-rounded education, improve school conditions for student learning, and improve digital literacy for all students. The fourth initiative transfers an education specialist 3 to higher education and educator support services from the learning systems team. This position supports the certification team, and the initiative may also be found on page A160, which reflects the transfer to the HEESS, resulting in a net effect of 0. The fifth initiative reduces allocation of $4,832,124 in each year of the biennium. This initiative reduces allocation for the Eisenhower Mathematics and Science Education State Grant, which was $1,687,000, and the Preschool Development Grant Program, which was $3,831,437. Both of these grants have ended. The sixth initiative provides an appropriation of $25,922 in FY22 and $10,564 in FY23 for the approved reclassification of a regional education representative to a public service manager 2. The FY22 amount includes a retroactive payment from March 30th, 2020. The seventh initiative continues an education specialist 3 position through August 31st, 2022. That was previously continued by a financial order. This position provides oversight and leadership to the Head Start programs in Maine and facilitates coordination between Head Start services and public schools. A portion of this position is also funded by the Department of Health and Human Services through February of 2022 for the work related to building a strong foundations for families project. The 8th initiative, the 8th through 11th initiatives transfer 10 positions, transfers 10 positions and they're related all other from the learning systems to the Office of School and Student Supports. As a result of a reorganization within the department, a new office was created that provides greatly needed resources, professional development and technical assistance, and organizational capacity for schools to provide effective social emotional learning and mental health education, screening and services, increase and improve trauma-informed practices, address issues surrounding equity and culturally responsive educational practices, and improve the cultural competence of educators and students in order to ensure safe, respectful, and inclusive learning environments. This initiative may also be found on pages A177 through A178, which reflects the transfer out of the Office of School and Student Supports, resulting in a net effect of 0. The 12th initiative deappropriates $78,986 in each year of the biennium for travel, office supplies, and general operations in order to fund new budget initiatives as a result of a shift in departmental priorities. The 13th initiative eliminates vacant limited period education specialist 3 and reduces all other allocation as a result of the end of the Advancing Wellness and Resiliency in Education, or AWARE grant. The 14th initiative transfers and reallocates the cost of a public service coordinator 2 and adjusts all other funding. As a result of a reorganization of the department, the Maine School Safety Center was created. The Maine School Safety Center aims to develop a safe school infrastructure that will deliver high quality, up-to-date best practices, procedures, training, and technical assistance and support to Maine schools. This initiative may also be found on page A172, which transfers the position to the Maine School Safety Center, resulting in a general fund savings of $49,789 in FY22 and $50,222 in FY23. The 15th initiative reallocates the cost of a regional education representative from 100% general fund to 50% general fund and 50% federal expenditures fund in order to align the work effort within the appropriate funding sources. The last initiative provides an appropriation of $6,647 in FY22 and $6,949 in FY23 for the approved reorganization of an education specialist 3 to the regional education representative. The Learning Through Technology program. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A169. This team provides the tools and resources to assist Maine's teachers in integrating technology into their classrooms and curriculum. Programs include the Maine Learning Technology Initiative, MLTI, hashtag Connect the Kids, also hashtag Connect the Kids Now, which provides cellular hotspots and Wi-Fi for students so they can participate in remote learning. The Moose Project, which created asynchronous, interdisciplinary, project-based learning modules for use by students and teachers, distance learning classrooms, federal E-rate support, and support to the Department of Education and school administrative units. This program does not receive an all other grant fund appropriation. The all other funding for LTT is included in the GPA budget. The budget for LTT and targeted education funds within GPA is $14 million. It has one initiative that may also be found on page A169. This initiative transfers a management analyst 1 and an office specialist 1 from learning systems to GPA to reflect the positions in the appropriate program. This initiative may also be found on page A159, which reflects the position transfer to GPA, resulting in a net effect of 0. The Maine Commission for Community Service. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A170. The Maine Commission for Community Service builds capacity and sustainability in Maine's volunteer and service communities through training for individuals and organizations responsible for engaging volunteers in service, grants to implement volunteer programs or strengthen their impact, and technical assistance on how to use service as a strategy to tackle community problems. The goal is to address the needs effectively and efficiently by extending the impact of local resources through volunteer involvement. As the lead state agency for national and community service programming, the Commission awards funds allocated to Maine under the National and Community Service Trust Act of 1993. This program includes the General Fund, Federal Expenditures Fund, and other special revenue funds. It has one initiative that may be also found on page A170. This initiative de-appropriates $9,490 in each year of the biennium for travel, office supplies, and general operations in order to fund new budget initiatives as a result of a shift in departmental priorities. Maine HIV Prevention Education Program. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A171. The General Fund program uses funds for HIV prevention training of health educators, student peer educators, special education teachers, and other teachers and youth workers. There is one initiative for this program, and it de-appropriates $15,600 in each year of the biennium for training services related to HIV prevention education for educators in health, special education, and alternative education. The Maine School Safety Center, or MSSC. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A172. The MSSC provides guidance, training, and technical support to Maine schools to assist them in meeting their safety and security requirements. The center is developing a safe school infrastructure that will deliver high-quality, up-to-date best practices and procedures and training and technical assistance and support to Maine schools. This program has two initiatives that may be also found on page A172. The first initiative continues a public service manager 2 and a public service coordinator 2 previously continued by financial order. It provides an appropriation of $198,635 in FY22 and $311,549 in FY23 to cover the cost of the positions beginning on October 31st, 2021, and related all other costs. These two positions are currently being paid with a 5-year Maine grant for school emergency management. Due to the response and challenges resulting from COVID-19, additional staff were needed, reducing the amount of grant funds for all positions. Also, because grant funding ends in 2023, the Safety Center would not be able to function after that date. This initiative also continues 2 limited period regional educational representatives through September 29 of 2023 and provides an allocation to cover the positions and related all other costs. The second initiative transfers a public service coordinator 2 from learning systems in order to reflect the position in the appropriate program. This initiative also reallocates the cost of the position. The initiative may also be found on page A167, which reflects the transfer from learning systems. The National Board Certification Salary Supplement Fund. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A173. The National Board Certification Supplement Fund provides a salary supplement for teachers who've attained certification from National Board for Professional Teaching Standards. This other special revenue fund program is funded by fees collected from the initial and renewal of teacher, education specialist, and administrator certificates. There are no new initiatives for this program. National Board Certification Scholarship Fund. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A173. The National Board Certification Scholarship Fund provides scholarships to teachers as an incentive to encourage teachers to apply for the National Board certification from National Board for Professional Teaching Standards. This other special revenue fund program is funded by fees collected from the initial and renewal of teacher, education specialist, and administrator certificates. There are no new initiatives for this program. Obesity and Chronic Disease Fund. The baseline for this program may be found on page A174. The Obesity and Chronic Disease Fund is used to receive funding to support physical education programs in elementary schools to reduce obesity and chronic disease. Balances in the fund may be used to pay for new equipment, new staff training, new personnel, new administrative costs, and other expenses not related to an existing physical education program, and for the implementation of a new physical education program for elementary schools. The other special revenue funds request is $500 in each year of the biennium. This amount provides a base allocation if funds were received for this purpose. No revenue has been received to date. There are no new initiatives for this program. Retired Teachers Group Life Insurance. The baseline for this program may be found on page A179. The Retired Teachers Group Life Insurance General Fund Program provides funding for group life insurance benefits for Maine's retired teachers. This program has one initiative that may also be found on page A174. This initiative deappropriates $8,383 in FY22 and provides an appropriation of $125,431 in FY23. The funding request is based on actuarial estimates calculated by Maine PERS, the retirement Maine employees retirement system. Retired Teachers Health Insurance. The baseline budget request may be found on page A179. The Retired Teachers Health Insurance General Fund Program provides funding for health insurance benefits for Maine's retired teachers. There are no new initiatives for this program. School and Student Supports. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A176. The program strives to ensure that Maine schools are inclusive, healthy, safe, and supportive communities where every student thrives. The program endeavors to coordinate resources and programs that promote equitable, psychosocially, physically, and environmentally healthy school communities for all. Each program team provides information and guidance to parents, administrators, educators, legislators, and other stakeholders within their focus areas. This program includes general fund and other special revenue funds that are derived from the Dropout and Truancy Education Trust. It has 6 initiatives that may be found on pages A176 to A178. The first initiative reallocates the cost of a management analyst 2, an education specialist 3, public service management 2, manager 2, and a public service executive 2 between accounts within the same program in order to align the work effort with the appropriate funding source. It also continues one secretary specialist supervisor position previously continued by financial order, and it provides funding for all other costs related to it. The general fund net effect for this initiative is an appropriation of $47,587 in FY22 and $51,194 in FY23. The second initiative reallocates the cost of a regional education representative from 80% federal block grant fund and 20% federal expenditures fund to 88% and 12% in order to align the work effort with the appropriate funding source. The 3rd through 6th initiatives transfer 10 positions related all other from the learning systems to the Office of School and Student Supports, and 1 position and related all other from School Finance and Operations to the Office of School and Student Supports. As a result of a reorganization within the department, a new office was created that provides greatly needed resources, professional development, technical assistance, and organizational capacity for schools to provide effective social emotional learning, mental health education, screening and services, improve trauma-informed practices, address issues surrounding equity and culturally responsive educational practices, and improve the cultural competence of educators and students in order to ensure safe, respectful, and inclusive learning environments. The initiative may also be found on pages A165 through A166, and also on page A179, which reflects the transfer from other programs. School Finance and Operations. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A179. The School Finance and Operations team is responsible for the child nutrition program, data collection and reporting, and the administration of school finance statutes to include the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act. This program includes general fund and federal expenditures funds. It has 4 initiatives, and they may be found on pages A179 and A180. The first initiative, our federal child nutrition grant, provides an allocation of $6,745,641 in FY22 and $6,740,141 in FY23 in order to align the allocation with the estimated revenue. The Child Nutrition Grant makes the school lunch program available to school children and encourages the domestic consumption of nutritious agricultural commodities. School districts are reimbursed for their expenses on a monthly basis. The second initiative transfers $29,000 to adult education. This funding is for the adult education management system that was developed for reporting. This initiative puts funding in the appropriate program. It may also be found on page A150, which transfers the funding to adult education, resulting in a net effect of 0. The third initiative transfers a public service manager 2 and all other costs to the Office of School and Student Supports from the School Finance and Operations office in order to reflect the position in the appropriate program. This initiative may also be found on page A177, which transfers the position to the Office of School and Student Supports, resulting in a net effect of 0. The fourth initiative is a deappropriation of $25,300 in each year of the biennium for travel, office supplies, and general operations in order to fund new budget initiatives as a result of a shift in departmental priorities. Special Services Team. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A181. The Special Services Team provides leadership, management, coordination, and supervision of programs and services provided in accordance with the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act to children with disabilities birth to 21 years old. This program includes the General Fund and the Federal Expenditures Fund, and it has 3 initiatives that may also be found on page A181. The first initiative transfers an Office Associate 2 position from Child Development Services to the Special Services Team in order to reflect the position in the appropriate program. This position provides administrative support to the finance team within the Office of Special Services. This initiative may also be found on page A152, which transfers the position from CDS, resulting in a net effect of 0. The second initiative reallocates the cost of a public service manager 2 from 30% federal expenditures fund and 70% general fund to 100% federal expenditures fund in order to align the work effort with the appropriate funding source. It also provides an allocation for related all other costs. The third initiative transfers a portion of the cost of an eliminated vacant public service coordinator 2 from personal services to all other in order to expend the allocation on other grant-related expenditures. This initiative may also be found on page A152, which reflects the general fund portion of the cost in CDS. Teacher retirement. The baseline budget for this program may be found on page A182. The Maine Public Employees Retirement System, or Maine PERS that I tried to say earlier, provides retirement benefits for Maine's educators. This general fund program has one initiative that may be found on the same page. This initiative provides an appropriation of $15,324,489 in FY22 and $20,677,486 in FY23. The expenditure forecast for the 22-23 biennium for teacher retirement primarily consists of the required unfunded actuarial liability, or UAL, payment that is established by the actuarial valuation performed by Maine PERS and assumes projected teacher salary and wage growth of 2.75% for state-funded positions at career and technical education regions. The sum of these two employer retirement cost components forms the basis for the forecast for teacher retirement expenditures. Now for the language, Part C. Part C may be found on pages 1 through 9. This part establishes the total cost of education from pre-kindergarten through grade 12 for fiscal year 21-22. The state contribution, the annual target state share percentage, and the mill expectation for the local contribution for fiscal year 21 and 22. It also provides a one-year change to the essential programs and services model in order to recognize a decline in student enrollment for the year prior to the funding, and due to the unusual nature of the decline, the inability of school units to reduce their costs accordingly. Part EE. Part EE may be found on pages 28 and 29. This part changes the name of the Director, Legislative Affairs to the Director of Policy and Government Affairs. Part FF may also be found on page 29. This part changes the title of the Director of Communications to the Director of Marketing and Communications, and changes the title of Director of Special Projects to Chief Innovation Officer. It also adds the Chief Innovation Officer as a major policy influencing position in the department. Part GG. Part GG may be found on page 30. This part adds the Chief of Operations position as a major policy influencing position in the department. Part HH may be found on page 30 and 31. This part removes the education in the unorganized territory account from the list of accounts authorized to carry unexpended general fund personal services balances, and transfers the accumulated personal services unencumbered balance forward of $5,002,639 to the unappropriated surplus of the general fund. Part 2. Part 2 may be found on page 31. This part removes the appointment of the Director of Early Childhood Special Education. This position was formerly a Child Development Services position. It is now a state position and does not need to be appointed. Part JJ. Part JJ may be found on page 31. This part adds language that allows the prorating of salary supplement payments for National Board Certified teachers based on the amount of revenue received for this purpose. This is the end of my testimony for the Department of Education, and I would be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Commissioner Macon. Would you like to take a second and get a drink of water, or take a break or anything before we start Q&A?
I'm good here, but you all may want to take a little break. That must have been hard.
We've been able to do that while we're listening. So if you're ready to go, I'm sure we're ready to go.
Ready to go.
Thank you so much. And just a reminder to committee members that, what we don't get today from the commissioner, we will make sure our analysts are tallying up so that, there's good follow-up from AFA and education over to the department and back and forth for our work sessions. So I have in the queue Representative Cloutier and Senator Bailey. And again, if you wouldn't mind going down to the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a raise hand function. And if you could do that raise hand function, that will help me call on folks in order. So Representative Cloutier, Senator Bailey, Representative Millette in the queue.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Macon. I have one really quick question on page A171, the Maine HIV Prevention Education Program. It wasn't clear to me whether that $15,600 was an elimination or a reduction, so I'm wondering if you can clarify that. And then if we could just get a little bit of an explanation on why that is either an elimination or a reduction.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that is a reduction, I believe, of 10% from that program. And what it would impact is it would reduce some of the costs that would be associated with providing trainings across the state. But that would not reduce the cost. It would reduce the number of trainings that we're able to provide. But we also are able to provide a lot of things through Zoom these days. And so we're able to find those types of economies and efficiencies.
Great, thank you.
Senator Bailey and then Representative Millette.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. This is a total newbie question because I've been contacted by a number of constituents about this. Where in the education budget is the Maine School of Science and Mathematics?
So,
and is there any reduction in funding for the school?
Right. Nope, there is no reduction in funding for the school. It is located in the GPA section of our budget. That's the general purpose aid for schools. And it's one of several programs that are within the GPA section. And
Okay.
we did not make any changes to their budget.
All right. Thank you very much.
Representative Millette.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioner.
Morning.
Madam Chair, I do have a series of questions. Do you want me to go through all of them? Do you want me to go through just some of them and give somebody else a chance? How would you prefer?
Well, I don't have anybody else in the queue at the moment, so why don't you fire away? And if I need to interrupt, then I will.
Okay, great.
Thank you for asking.
Great. Just so everybody knows, this is our time in front of the department with our budget questions. So I appreciate everyone's patience with me. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to try to go in sequential order of the budget and your presentation, Commissioner. That way, hopefully we can all kind of follow along. So I see that there's no new allocation for CDS, Child Development Services. And yet I am aware that there are wait lists for services. So if you could explain to us how CDS plans to address those wait lists without any additional resources.
So our special services team, the wait list is not a product of services, of funding, sorry. It is the lack of or the inaccessibility of the private provider services out there in the world that CDS usually contracts with in order to get the services provided for students. That has been a 30-year long, I would suggest maybe design flaw in the way in which services are provided through CDS, because it fully relies on the availability and access to different private providers, but the onus is on us as a state to make sure those services are provided. Therefore, we're reorganizing within the Department of Education's Special Service Office to ensure that the 9 regional centers are staffed and prepared with the federal funding that already exists for them to address those waiting lists. And I think pleased to say and proud to say that the team seems to believe that there's going to be an elimination of those waiting lists that have apparently been a problem for 30 years. And we're about to be able to address it so that that will no longer be the case.
So just to make sure that I understand, it's the department's belief that the centers are going to be reorganized in a way with existing resources that will eliminate those wait lists.
That is my understanding. I will get back to you with like absolute on that, but I believe we're using combined state and federal special education funds to make sure that we can address those wait lists as soon as possible.
That'd be great. And then I'm going to just jump forward because it is related. You just noted in part II of the language that the director of CDS is now being made of the Department of Education. I'm curious about the timing of that, as the Education Committee is in the middle of the CDS review process. There's been no statutory change in terms of where CDS lies in Maine law, and frankly in the way that the state currently looks at CDS. Why is this being done, and is this actually legal, considering that CDS is still separate from the department?
What we're recognizing is that we need the reorganization is driven by absolute need. I can tell you that, and was not the timing of it. It's interesting because we hired a new special education director just before COVID last year, and prior to the studies and the work that has been done by the committee on CDS. And one of the most important tasks that our incoming special education director received was to take a really good close look at what's happening with CDS, and to exert the level of leadership and visionary systemic change that would be necessary. And I'm trying to think where it's for certain the department, the commissioner apparently does appoint that position, and we've requested that it no longer be an appointed position in this budget language here, Part C, and that it would become part of the Department of Education's special services, where the people have the capacity, the deep understanding of special education, particularly with respect to those 3 to 5-year-old children who deserve FAPE, which is the free appropriate public education. And having a quasi-governmental separate organization running that without necessarily the expertise and the deep knowledge of the federal IDEA laws and statutes and practices, I think has been a challenge. And so that's why we are suggesting this reorganization. We're excited to there is a plan to make tremendous positive change for CDS.
Yes, I'm aware that department has had a long-standing plan to make changes around CDS, but my question is really about the timing, with the recognition of the investment of both state resources, financial state resources, and legislative resources in reviewing CDS, and in the process of contemplating legislative action in one direction or another, why the department feels it's necessary to make this change now in the biennial. I think for our work session, if we could plan on digging more deeply into this, that would be good. Okay, so then moving on to community schools, it says has basically a $500 placeholder for future federal funding. I'm just curious as to whether the department has considered directing. Well, first, actually, is the department applying for the full service community schools program grant that the U.S. Department of Education has offered to states?
I'm sorry, when a new funding round for that program is available, I'm sure that we would be applying for it. We've applied for every possible program to support students and families that has been offered by the federal government.
If you could check in as to whether the department has applied for it, because I believe the deadline is coming up rapidly. And then has the department considered directing Title I, Title II, Title IV, or student support and academic enrichment grant money to the community school model here in Maine?
We've actually dedicated those funds toward the mitigation of impact from the COVID-19 emergency to the local education agencies as is intended by those federal programs. So they are specifically meant to be provided in certain formula to all of the local school districts to do very similar work, by the way, to what the community schools model provides.
Isn't the 21st Century Community Learning Centers money a funds that schools apply for? It's not actually allocated through any formula.
Right, that's true. That is.
And
correct.
is that also the case for the student support and academic enrichment grant?
The student support and academic enrichment grant. I'm not sure which one that is. Is that a?
Okay. So for the work session, if we could have just dig into that a little bit more, that would be great. Okay, and just to be clear for my understanding, for the general purpose aid, the department used the two most recent October pupil counts and then put a temporary adjustment in around the teacher pupil ratio for elementary schools from 17 to 16. Is
Right.
that the full extent of the changes that were put into place for the GPA allocation or calculation?
I believe so, yes.
So for the work session, if we could just dig into that a little bit more, just to get a little more clarity around how that number.
Sorry, just to be clear, it was the only change to the formula itself, the EPS formula. And I think it also represents the only change to GPA, but I will double check.
Right, EPS formula. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, and then learning through technology, there's an initiative that transfers 2 positions from the Department of Education to GPA, quote, because it's more appropriate. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on that, please? Or for the work session, would you please elaborate a little more on that?
I will. My guess is it's I can. Let me just. I think I'll take a shot at it right now. The school finance team is funded through GPA because that's their whole function is providing the formula and the GPA. They are and have been dramatically understaffed. It has never been more evident to us than during this time of, with federal resources coming in quickly. I mean, we literally have 3 people that are managing $1 billion worth of school funding. And so this is basically to place additional support with the school finance team.
Okay, so for the work session, if we could get a better understanding of what are the resources for the Learning Through Technology program, and what will remain if these 2 positions then are transferred to the school finance area?
Okay. Yep.
Pardon me, Representative Millette?
Yes.
Excuse me. We do have a couple people in the queue.
Right.
So
let's take a break for me.
If you would, and maybe your questions will come up from other folks as well. So let's just, I'll circle back to you. Pardon me, I'll circle back to you. I have Representative Fay and Representative Salisbury in the queue. Representative Fay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I have very little experience with the Department of Education and the organization and the reorganization. And so I'm hoping that maybe we could just be provided, or for the, at some point in the not too distant future, maybe a list of the types of grants and maybe the grant names that the department receives, which is probably sounds like it's fairly significant. And then also, I would love to have just an organizational chart of the department, and maybe if there's been changes, maybe a reorganizational chart, how you're moving things around. That would be just helpful for me to understand all of the different ways that you touch people in the state. So thank you. Actually, and then I do have another question, and that would be about teacher retirements. I noticed that the increase in teacher retirement was fairly significant, and I'm just curious about, I don't necessarily need an answer now, about what the data is showing in terms of teacher retirements and where we might be able to expect that to go in the future. Anecdotally, of course, we've heard of a lot of teacher retirements. So just curious about that.
Great. We will get all that information together for you.
Thank you.
Can I quickly backtrack to Representative Millet's previous question about the Student Support and Academic Achievement Grant? That is actually part of Title IV, and it is in fact a formula grant, just to clarify. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Representative Salisbury and then Representative Stearns.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And thank you, Commissioner Macon. That was a great presentation. And I just have a question, if I may, about the Child Nutrition Grant on A179, being the new person on the committee. If you could just talk a little bit about that. Is that a new grant that's being funded, or is that?
Let me see which one it is.
It's
179. They're so.
It's 6.7 million for the 21-22, and then 6.7.
Oh, okay. You know what that is? That's a backlog. That's an allocation. That's a backlog of several years in I guess the past 8 or 9 years. There was nobody would approve, I guess, the allocation, but it's federal funding coming in, and this is a big adjustment. And Elaine Babb is on here, and she could probably explain it more thoroughly, but that's not like a new big grant. That is a collective of a number of years of funding. It just needs to be placed into the proper. We would have to ask for, Elaine, can you hear me?
Yes.
What was it that happened with the nutrition grants that would come in, and we weren't allowed to, that the federal funding wasn't being allocated?
Commissioner, would you mind introducing Ms. Babb for us?
Yes. So Elaine Babb is, sorry, our Director of Finance and Operations of the department. And
Thank you. Ms. Babb, go ahead.
Child Nutrition gets a grant, and we have an allocation for it. And as the years go by, if the grant increases, which Child Nutrition has, it's based on reimbursement. And over the years, we needed more allocation. And in order to get that, we would submit a financial order to increase the allotment in that current year. We would like to put it in the budget to have the allocation in there so that we don't have to, do that process. We do it with all our grants. Every time we ask for an increase, it's for just the allotment so that we can spend the grant money that we received.
Okay, so if I can follow up, Madam Chair. So we're expecting to receive an allocation of approximately that amount of money that would then.
Okay. Yeah, so what's happening is right now, that particular pot of money is at like 63 million. And we only have, there's a lot of pots of money in child nutrition, but right now we have 59 million in allocation. Okay, and we want to increase it by 6 based on the estimates of the projections that we're looking at for expenditures. So we need that in order to pay the bills.
And the bills go to the school districts, and it's reimbursement for their what they spend in order to provide the regular student lunch program.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Salisbury, we can talk more about allocations, what that means at another time. It can be very confusing. Representative Stearns and then Representative Peirce.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Commissioner, for the detailed budget presentation. You've certainly done a lot of restructuring within the department, a lot of movement. It's almost like makes three-dimensional chess look like Candyland. Out of all of that, do you happen to know the net gain or loss of full-time equivalent positions in the budget?
In this proposal that we're putting forward here,
Yeah.
I think I should be able to put my hands on that very quickly, but I don't have it right on the top of my head.
That's fine. If we could have that for the work session.
It might be actually an increase of 2.
I think Elaine Babb might have
Yeah.
her hand up for that question.
5.
Oh, an increase of 5. Does that include EUT and other things or just the department?
It's the department overall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and if I might, Madam Chair, one quick follow-up.
Sure.
I'm wondering if for the work session, if we could have an analysis out of the 11 cost centers in education of in the past couple of years and looking forward into the next couple of years, which what are the percentage increases and what are the dollar increases in each of those cost centers, so that we can find out, you know, what's driving the budget, if you will, and looking at that $45 million increase over the biennium.
You got that, Commissioner Macon? Do you want to answer that now, or is that something you'll bring back to the work session?
Well, absolutely bring that back, but just to be clear, the $45 million increase is all going to schools. It's not about the department.
Oh, I'm aware, but the budget is driven by those 11 cost centers. And some of the cost centers tend to stay fairly neutral over the years with slight increases, and some of them have increased dramatically in the last decade or so. And I'd like to see that updated if we could.
All right, we'll get all that for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All set, Representative Stearns?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure thing. Representative Peirce.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. On page 4 of your testimony, the alternative breakfast delivery service program, where there was an allocation of, we put into law in 2019, the 500,000. I'm assuming that hasn't been spent because COVID changed what we were doing. Is that why that hasn't been drawn down very much, or is there another reason for that?
That is absolutely my guess. You know, there was a significant amount used in its very first year, and then this past year, I think it's only been around 11,000. And I think in many cases, people have had to completely redo the way they are offering child nutrition services and have accessed some federal funding to do more large scale restructuring. This was for like a very specific project that may, interestingly, in part, that project sought to prevent the identification or the any potential stigma of kids going down to get a free lunch or a free breakfast. Student nutrition services have been free for all children since retroactive since for a year now. So it just hasn't been an issue. And I think that's why you're not seeing it getting spent down this year, because everybody is being provided with nutrition services.
Well, I'm certainly glad kids are being fed. That's the important thing there. So, and then on part C, page 5, where you start the total adjustment and targeted educational funds, I know you're not making any changes within that, but I think for the work session, it'd be great if we could have a 5-year, 8-year history of those funds on a spreadsheet. I think I think that's doable. I think I've seen that before. I'd just like to have it again to understand where things are headed or where they haven't been heading, or et cetera. So,
yes,
thank you.
All right, Representative Millette.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, don't have too much left. The Maine School Safety Center, Commissioner, I'm struggling a bit to understand what's happening there. I think your testimony said that federal funds that were used to start this center were ending in 2023. So I guess my first question is, why then are we shifting costs to the state in 21-22 and not allowing it to be funded with those federal funds? Yeah,
Okay.
I'll end there without.
Okay. Yeah, I can explain that. So the Maine School Safety Center we had 2 people running it, and we were going to support schools in the development of trauma-informed practices and shore up their emergency response plans. And a very short time into their very brand new hire came an actual emergency. And we've been in that state of emergency now for about a year. And in the context of the emergency, we felt very foresightful to have had the Maine School Safety Center set up and ready to go. And I think a lot of school districts were far more prepared than they might otherwise have been when we entered into this ongoing emergency situation. That said, the amount of work that needed to get done under just really unprecedented conditions required them to, they reworked their grant budget to bring additional people on board to be doing a lot more support for schools who needed it deeply. And therefore, we're utilizing the grant funds for more people than we originally intended. And we know that we want to make permanent the 2 lead positions, because I feel as though it's been made incredibly clear that we should never be a Department of Education without a Maine School Safety Center as part of our work. And those the director and coordinator positions there would be, under less dire circumstances, able to probably carry this out. But for the remainder of the grant cycle, we've really brought a lot of people on board to be supporting the field in a number of projects.
I'm still struggling because I believe that there have been several rounds of federal relief packages to help support the additional cost to address COVID. And so for the work session, so we don't belabor this point more with the hearing, for the work session, if we could get a better description of how much money the department has received to date, aside from what has gone to the school districts, right? Because there are separate pots of money. I recognize that, and very grateful for the amount of money that has gone to our schools to help them address the pandemic. But I believe that there have been several other additional allocations made to departments of education to help them address the pandemic well. Within that context, then, what is making it necessary why aren't we using those funds to cover these additional expenses within the Maine School Safety Center? And then, because as you know, we are in a tough budget situation, and to put an extra expense on the state side when there's already federal funds for these positions for at least the next year, why are we having to put those on our books? So for the work session, if we could just dig into that a little bit more, that'd be great. Okay, the National Board certification, I think you'll recollect that the last legislature in the Education Committee, we did quite a bit of work around this. We had a number of conversations. Senator Libby's bill in particular, I think acted as the catalyst for us to dig into how Maine is supporting our National Board certified educators. In fact, we passed a bill that would increase the amount that our educators are receiving as National Board Certified Educators. I believe the department provided a calculation to the Education Committee about how much would be necessary to fund our National Board Certified Educators at the current level, and then at the next level planned up for educators who teach in districts with 50% of students who qualify for free or reduced price lunches. So for the work session, if we could have that information again. I do note that in the budget, there's $335,000 in the budget, but then in the Part C language, it's reflecting $307,000. So I'm wondering about that discrepancy, because I'm pretty sure we're not paying our National Board Certified teachers a full amount of money. So why wouldn't the Part C language reflect the full utilization of the board certified budget? And then also for the work session, could we get how much, because I believe that this is being funded by credentialing fees, educator credentialing fees. So how much in actuality is the department collecting in credentialing fees? Just so we can get a sense of whether that's being fully utilized to support our, and also for the work session, can we please get how much our National Board Certified teachers were paid for this current academic year, and then how much the department is projecting it will pay them for the biennial years.
Senator Millett, you mean their bonus? How much of that bonus? Is that what you mean?
It's not a bonus. We need to be very clear. This is an agreed upon. I prefer stipend if anything, because they worked very hard to be board certified. It's a promise that the state has made our educators to go through that exhausting process.
All right. Yeah, I used the wrong word. I meant that extra amount that they're earning, not that it's a freebie.
Right. Yeah, it's so in statute we have that we would pay our teachers who are certified $3,000, and fairly consistently the state has not been meeting that amount because we are only allocating $335,000. And I believe that the actual projection, and I've searched high and low. I'm switching from a Senate email base to a representative email base, and I'm losing things in the process. So I know we've had this information, but I can't seem to dig it up on my side. So how much does it cost to fully respect the promise that the state has made our educators for becoming board certified? And how much are we actually paying? And why the discrepancy between what's in Part C of $307,000 versus what's in the budget at $335,000? Oh, and I believe that feeds into then the language that is in Part JJ, which is basically allowing the state of Maine to not meet its obligations for board certified teachers, saying we're going to prorate, we're going to allow ourselves to not pay that full amount. Is that correct? Commissioner, is that Part JJ related to the fact that we're not able to meet the?
It was built into the law, the statute that passed recently. That language is in there, and so I think this is why they were changing JJ to match. It did say something about prorating in the event that I don't have it memorized, but I'm quite certain that this JJ language was spurred by the actual legislation.
Yeah. So for the work session, if we could dig into that a little bit more, because I think that's it. That's it for me. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Millett. Any more questions for Commissioner Macon from any of the appropriations or education members? Not seeing any. at the moment. So I think that means what we'll do is open it up to public testimony. And at the moment, we only have 2 folks who are in the queue for public testimony. And the first one is Mayor Foley from Westbrook. And then the second one is Victoria Wallach. So Mayor Foley, I'm going to move you over to panelist. And when you pop up on our screen, if you would just give us a shout out so we can find your square, that would be great.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. I just wanted to take a moment to address the group. So Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and honorable members of the Joint Standing Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs. My name is Michael Foley, and I'm the mayor of the city of Westbrook. I'm here on behalf of the Mayor's Coalition to testify in support of LD 221, specifically to address education funding. The Mayor's Coalition is a nonpartisan group formed in 2012 and currently includes the mayors of 9 main communities: Augusta, Biddeford, Lewiston, Portland, Rockland, Saco, Sanford, South Portland, and Westbrook, with a combined population of nearly 250,000. The coalition advocates for state and federal policies that recognize the important role that Maine cities play in providing vital services to Maine people across our state, and the positive impact Maine cities have on the economic strength of our state. The coalition seeks to work in partnership with Maine state and federal elected officials to meet the needs of Maine's people. We appreciate and know firsthand the challenging task you have in balancing a budget during difficult economic times. We also appreciate the incremental increases that the Mills administration and the legislature have supported in recent years to the state's portion of education funding. However, we note the proposed state funding at 51.83% is still well short of the statutory requirement of the 55%. This gap in funding falls to municipalities to make up through the only source of funding we have for such purposes, namely the property tax. This places a significant burden on our residents and businesses, especially during challenging economic times such as the COVID-19 pandemic. In the past, when the state budget was tight, reductions were made in education funding. We strongly urge the committee to maintain at least the level of funding in the governor's proposed budget and to find sustainable solutions to meet the state's statutory obligation to fund 55% of essential programs and services in the future. With improvements in education funding and hopefully municipal revenue sharing, this will help our communities to better manage growth in the property tax and allow us to continue to deliver critical services without drastic cuts or increased taxes. Thank you for your time and consideration today. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have of me.
Thank you, Mayor Foley. Any questions for Mayor Foley and the Mayor's Coalition from any of our legislators? Again, if you would mind raising your hand at the bottom of your screen, that would be great. I don't think I'm seeing any. So we will say thank you, Mayor Foley. Appreciate you hanging in there and listening, and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Next in line is Vicki Wallach. I will, and then we have, well, we might have another coming. So we might have one more after Ms. Wallach, but I'm going to move her over now. And Ms. Wallach, if you could give us a shout out when you arrive.
I'm here.
There she is.
Good morning, almost noon.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Senators Breen and Daughtry, Representative Peirce and Brennan, and members of the Appropriations and Education Committees. I am Victoria Wallach, Communications and Government Relations Director for Maine School Management, representing the legislative committees of the Maine School Boards Association and Maine School Superintendents Association in support of the 2022-23 biennial budget. As we approach the 1-year anniversary of the COVID-19 virus being detected in Maine, we want to express our appreciation for the support we have received from the legislature, the governor's office, and the Department of Education that allowed us to reopen schools in the fall while keeping our students and staff safe. That has involved a combination of in-person, hybrid, and online classes via Zoom and other mediums, with the greatest determinant being available space needed to follow distancing guidelines. The budget continues that support by increasing funding for public schools. While we received $9 million less in the casino revenue for general purpose aid because of the COVID's impact on that business, the governor proposed and gave us $22.5 million in GPA for each year of the biennium. Federal funding also has helped school districts with COVID-related costs, and our hope is there will be additional funding in the next package currently being negotiated. The more flexible those funds are, the better, as we face new challenges, very different than what we faced in the fall. We face new challenges now for schools, including the need to address learning loss because of the disruptive nature of the virus. Remote learning has value, but it is not a substitute for in-person classes. And on that note, I would just want to update you. Right now, we have found that we took a survey the Valentine's Day week, and we found that the highest percentage of in-school learning is occurring in pre-K through 5, and that is largely because they sit in one classroom, we can space them out. At the high school level, it's something like 28%, and that is a 5-day-a-week. And that's because they move around in the hallways, which gets them in contact with each other, and the class sizes, depending on what course it is, will either be full or not so full in terms of accommodating space needs. So that's where we were at a couple of weeks ago. I'm hopeful, as now that we seem to be all green in the counties, that over time we can open these up, but it's largely the guidelines. The safety guidelines are driving what we can accommodate in schools, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Wallach. And I'm sure that everybody on the committee and in the legislature is very grateful to school management folks, school boards, superintendents, and their staff all over the state. They've been, everyone's been heroic. So thank you.
Thank you for that little share.
Any questions for Ms. Wallach and Maine School Management from either of the committees? I'm not seeing any. So I think that means no. So thank you for coming. I just need to check in with our staff for a second. Representative Peirce.
I'm all set. I thought we were, wait till we check in with the staff. Thank you.
Okay. There was a potential next person who was going to sign up, an early childhood representative. Mandy or Maureen, have we gotten that person on yet?
We have not heard anything.
Okay. Well, she can submit her testimony, obviously, in writing, as anybody else can as well. So I think we're going to draw this to a close. Representative Peirce, was there something you wanted to mention or ask?
I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the department for the heroic work they've done as well in working with everyone across the state. This has been a very, very challenging time, and I appreciated over the months where we weren't in session, the availability to speak directly with the commissioner. Her door was always open, and all those teachers out there and all those kids, I appreciate just the hard work. I know you do too, Senator Breen. You were probably going to say that, or maybe had already said it. Anyway, thank you for everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So we are scheduled to be back here at 1 o'clock to hear some more testimony. And just to give folks a preview, this afternoon, we are going to be hearing from some of our cultural institutions as well as the higher ed systems. So I hope that Representative Peirce.
It's tomorrow.
I think that's tomorrow afternoon, Senator.
Really?
Green. Yeah.
I apologize. And I'm so glad you're paying attention. Today is
done.
Done. Okay.
For the public hearing part. Yeah.
Oh, and in the meantime, if you just hold on, Tara Williams has just signed in. So if you could hang on a second and we'll get Tara Williams in to do her testimony before we adjourn, I would appreciate that. So Ms. Williams, I think I just moved you over to be a participant.
Sorry that I was late. I
Thank
really
you for
appreciate
joining
your
us.
time. Is it
Go right
okay to
ahead.
begin?
You can go right ahead, Ms. Williams.
Okay, thank you so much, Senator Breen, Senator Daughtry, Representative Peirce, Representative Brennan, and members of the Appropriations and Financial Affairs and Education and Cultural Affairs Committee. My name is Tara Williams, and I'm the Executive Director of the Maine Association for the Education of Young Children. Maine AUIC promotes high-quality early learning for all children, birth through age 8, by connecting practice, policy, and research, and we work hard to advance a diverse early childhood profession, trying to support all those who care for, educate, and work on behalf of young children. I am here today just to share a couple of notes about the proposed budget, the overall budget for education. One is that we really appreciate the governor's sentiments about the importance of protecting support for children's education, and a budget that continues stable funding for school districts and child development services during these difficult times. We know that so many programs and services through the Department of Education have been a vital resource for children and families prior to the pandemic and became even more crucial this year. These services support some of our state's most under-resourced children and strengthen their development and learning. When we think about the importance of kindergarten through 3rd grade, Maine AUIC feels it is worthy to lift up the fact that $45 million for public education, which makes progress towards a minimum teacher salary of $40,000, is essential for our state to have high quality educators and for children and youth to receive the effective education and supportive learning environments that they need and deserve. When we think about the importance of early learning for our youngest children, infants, toddlers, and preschoolers, Maine AUIC feels it is vital to lift up the research that shows that 90% of a child's brain is typically developed by the age of 5, and that economists project that for every $1 invested in strengthening early learning opportunities, we see a return on our investment anywhere between $7 and $12. This brain science and economic investment research point the way for Maine to have more robust funding for children's early learning opportunities in future budgets to come. Maine AUIC looks forward to continued conversations around investments that will support high quality early educators to also make progress towards a minimum salary of $40,000 and the ability for all young children in Maine to receive the effective, nurturing, and supportive learning environments they need and deserve. Thank you for taking the time to hear our testimony.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Williams from anybody on our 2 committees? Don't see anyone. Thank you very much for joining us. Today is finished for our 2 committees and public hearings. Tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, we will hear from some of our cultural institutions as well as our higher ed systems. Thank you so much to my co-chair for correcting me. Any questions from the chairs of education before we sign off about tomorrow?
I think we're all set. Just want to thank everyone for this morning and all of the great testimony. So thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And this public hearing is adjourned.